Sasha here, down in the garden. We've had a bit of rain this morning, which feels really awesome. It's really humid and sticky and just nice in the garden. I love it. I love getting my feet in the mud and the dirt. It feels amazing. We're going to get a heap more rain today, so I'm thinking about what I can do in the kitchen. And I've got tons of rhubarb at the moment, which I want to cook up. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to talk about rhubarb. Rhubarb is a perennial, and that means it grows, you plant it and it keeps on growing, unlike an annual which will only grow for a year. So you can plant this in winter, you plant it from crowns, and it will keep growing as long as you give it enough love and attention. But summer, spring and autumn are really its time where it's, it really starts to crank, and that's when you get your main harvest. As you can see, I've got tons and tons of stalks in here. It's a really easy to grow rhubarb, and it's very forgiving of neglect. I've had it in pots, and at times I've totally neglected it, haven't probably given it enough water or food, but at the moment I'm giving it a little bit more TLC, and I've been rewarded. It is at the top of the list when it comes to a heavy feeding plant. You can't overfeed rhubarb at all. I literally, most of what it's sitting is just straight up horse manure. It loves compost, blood and bone, whatever you can get your hands on. It loves a good feed, so always make sure that you're keeping those requirements up. It also likes to be wet, and I don't say wet as in soggy. It likes a free draining soil, but you want to keep the water up. It doesn't really like to be dry. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to harvest the stems. Now, when you're harvesting the stems, you don't want to cut them. You want to pull them off. So it's just a matter of getting in here and giving it a bit of a wiggle and pulling it so you've still got that bit left on. Don't be tempted to cut your stems off. Now, a lot of people talk about green stems, and if the stems are green, they're not ripe. That's actually not true. The biggest indication of whether or not your stems are going to be ripe is probably the leaf. I mean, look how big and open that leaf is. It's massive. So most rhubarb have, or different varieties of rhubarb, have different colouring. Some are going to be like that really ruby red, and some are going to be just a little bit more green. So don't look at it and go, they're green, I can't pick them. You can totally pick them. Also, the leaves are poisonous, so don't eat the leaves. I don't even give my leaves to the chooks, so make sure you just cut that off and chuck it in the compost or the bin or whatever. As you can see behind me here, my other rhubarb plant has started shooting a flower, and it's gone to seed. Now, this can happen for a few reasons. Basically, when your plant gets a bit older, like it's a bit more of a mature plant, you might find, and this one is, I've had this for ages, it'll start pushing out a flower, and it'll naturally start to go to seed. Again, nature's way of reproducing. Don't be too freaked out by that. I've just sort of here and there, I just keep cutting it back. But it's also probably a good indication that in winter, it might benefit from dividing the crown up and planting half in another pot and getting that going again. Another reason it might be flowering or going to seed could be that the plant's a bit stressed out. They tend to do that when they're stressed. So have a bit of a think about that, but don't be too concerned if you start seeing that come. It's not the end of your plant, unlike coriander that's going to sort of die once it bolts and goes to seed. You can safely cut them back or divide it in winter, no problems at all. So I'm going to take my rhubarb, I'm going to harvest. That's another one. Don't harvest more than half your plant. Basically, you don't want to come in and take all the stalks. You want to leave half so it keeps the plant producing and performing and doesn't freak the plant out too much because you've taken all the stems. So I hope you like those tips. I'm going to take my rhubarb and I'm going to go into the kitchen and I'm going to make some apple and rhubarb jam and some stewed rhubarb. So I hope you have a great day. Enjoy this rain, it's beautiful. Big love, see ya.